Hello, everyone, and welcome to our presentation. My name is Jacob, and I worked in a group with Romana, Shraddha, Mayak, and Catherine as a part of our Spring 2018 MSIS 2622 ERP Systems course at Santa Clara University under the Professor Michael Sherman. Today, we will be talking about contract management and why every company needs it. So before we dive into any details of contract management, let's first define what is a contract. According to the Oxford Dictionary, a contract is a written or spoken agreement, especially one concerning employment or sales that is enforceable by law. Contracts in business can range from a single ad hoc agreement for products or services of relatively low monetary value, which would only require a little more than a short-term informal relationship, or even to a series of contracts for large complex alliances for establishing strategic partnerships, and they can even serve as an overarching framework agreement. Contracts are an essential component of doing business. To put it simply, they formalize who is buying what from whom, at what price, for how long, and put conditions in place for when things go wrong. You're probably wondering by now, why are we talking about contract management in an ERP systems course presentation? Before we dive into even more details about contract management, we'll be giving you an overview of how they directly relate to ERP systems, the problems companies are facing in the industry, and benefits of successful contract management. So let's backtrack and discuss enterprise resource planning and supply chain management systems. ERP and SCM systems are separate yet related technologies which both address optimizing business processes and enhancing organizations. While ERP software manages the integration of information across all organizations of a company into one system to streamline business processes, SCM software focuses on managing the flow of materials, inventory, and finished goods from end to optimize supply chains. Given the internal and external organizational advantages offered by ERP and SCM, integration of the two systems is an established and proven industry practice to provide companies with substantial leverage over competitors. However, ERP and SCM integration can still come up short when it comes to total supply chain and business process efficiency. While merging these two systems cuts down certain shortcomings, it also creates silos between other management systems. We know that establishing a steady supply chain is critical to successful procurement endeavors, so this is where contracting comes into play, as it has a significant role within the context of a company's procurement efforts, making good contract management vital to improving supply chain performance. This ultimately leads us to our problem statement. Today, the lack of communication between contract management and other systems has proven to be a major constraint of legacy systems. Contracts, along with supplier-related items like big proposals, supplier certificates, credit verification, and supply chain manifests, do not integrate easily with ERP workflows. By addressing this integration, companies will improve supplier relationships, maximize partnerships, and ultimately succeed in contract, supply chain, and ERP system management. When companies successfully integrate contract management with their business processes, they experience invaluable benefits which can lead to leverage over their competitors. The majority of the best-in-class organizations achieve up to 80% more savings than others through a clearly defined contract management process. Despite the business value, only 48% of organizations have a centralized contract management process, and those remaining 52% of companies who do not have defined contract compliance processes may lose anywhere from 5 to 40% on deals due to inefficient contract management.
Thanks, Jacob. That seems interesting. So, Shraddha, do you have any idea about the steps to execute a contract?
Oh, yes, definitely, Mahek. As discussed by Jacob, contract is an essential component of doing business. It formalizes who is buying what, from whom, at what price, for how long, and it also puts the conditions in place for when things go wrong. There are certain steps to execute a single contract. The first being selecting a contract, as in what is a contract, which contract should I use. Step 2 is about collecting the necessary information, like the documents which are needed to complete the contracting package, like budget, payment schedule, etc. Step 3 is about choosing a negotiator to negotiate a contract. The next comes the contract review process, as in who should one contact to get an agreement reviewed. And the final step is about the contract signing. As you know, contract management is a time consuming process necessary for running a business. Most companies likely have dozens, if not hundreds, of contracts with professional service companies, vendors, or clients. Unfortunately, a lot of companies continue to rely on cumbersome spreadsheets to manage their contracting affairs. But Mehak, do you know, this may work for a small portfolio or for a brief period of time, but this can be overwhelming to handle as a company grows. Ineffective contract management leads to slower contract cycles, as time is usually wasted on trivial details instead of high level matters. Hence, I believe a right contract management is really important as it helps to reduce contract cycle time by decreasing manual entries, facilitating information exchange, and improving visibility.
Do you know, traditionally contracts were managed manually through folder and file cabinet storage. This practice is riddled with inefficiencies that only detracts organizations from its overall efficiency. And here comes the need of integrating with an automated contract management service that will help free up countless man hours and automate countless processes associated with managing a contract, thus creating more value for a company. And also, Microsoft outlines five key factors driving the need for contract management software. The first one being increasing the speed of the business. The second, every part of the contracting process has been digitized, like drafting to signatures for approval. The third need comes from self service experiences, which are reshaping professional work styles. Individual employees, even in large companies, want to be empowered to execute contracts in their area of business. The fourth, incremental government regulations drive a heightened need for standardization and ability to update for new standards. SaaS is the software delivery model taking over the business nowadays. The capabilities of contract management software definitely match the needs. Some of the capabilities are secure storage system which will easily store all of the contracts, and the biggest example being cloud-based storage system. And the second is the electronic signing. Third, security measures that keep sensitive documents in the right hands. And the fourth, automated reminders and report generation. And the last being search options to make locating and comparing documents simple. Also, as there are best practices associated with every process, we do have some for contract management, and those being creating standardized contracts, setting contract management KPIs, balancing storage security and visibility requirements, tracking contract approval time, automating contract communications, reviewing finances, conducting regular compliance reviews, resolving disputes promptly, anticipating evolving business needs, and comparing contract trends against market insights.
Hey guys, do you have any findings in regards to contract management that are interesting, non-trivial, and somewhat unexpected?
Yes, we do have some findings. The first finding we have is that the right contract management solution depends on the size of the company. Surprisingly, many companies do not have control over their contracts, despite contract clauses being at the heart of business engagements. Even when a company is properly storing their contracts, a lack of standardization in those contracts can expose the company to more external auditing, thereby causing greater financial risk to the company and investors.
Yes, to add on, this adaptability of contract management is more in highly regulated industries like pharmaceuticals and automotive due to the factors such as mandatory compliance with government regulations, huge organization size, and long term liability with customers. Very small organizations can rely on easily available software like Google Docs and Microsoft Word, and their features like redlining, which can facilitate tracking document changes.
However, Mehak, even though size matters, what you are working with initially can impede how effective it is to adopt CLM. For larger organizations like Tesla, the functionality of true contract lifecycle management software can begin to justify the cost. Another interesting finding we came across was related to contract management and blockchain. So, smart contracts are digital agreements between parties written in code and deployed to the blockchain when they can be executed if certain conditions are met. These contracts are immutable. That is, when changing any clause in the contract, both parties need to agree. Now, what is blockchain? Blockchain can be thought of as a series of transactions recorded in a ledger where each transaction is encoded with a reference number and some details of the previous transaction. Blockchain, through the use of smart contracts, will enable supply chain managers to control the input to their supply chain to a much greater degree than they are able to do so today, and at a much lower cost in terms of effort, time, and money. In short, we can have an efficient contract management. Smart contract basically address three major challenges of supply chain. The first being determining the place of origin of goods. The second is related to the tracking progress of goods through supply chain. And third is related to building trust through maintaining an open database with reputation scores for each party. Now, the question comes that how do smart contracts work? There are certain steps related to its working. The first being identifying the opportunity. The parties must identify an opportunity for them to collaborate and agree on the outcomes for each party. The second is about creation of the contract. The terms and conditions are set in order for an exchange to occur. These could be triggered by parties themselves or externally. Third is deploying the contract to blockchain and wait for the conditions to be met. Once all the above three steps have been executed, the contract is all set to be executed. A trigger is sent to the contract, and if conditions are met, contract will self-execute. Users can then authenticate the contract using public key. After that, the results are recorded on the blockchain permanently and updated across all the nodes. Now, the early adopters of smart contracts are banking, government, management, supply chain, automobile, insurance, real estate, and healthcare industries. And US, UK, and Canada are the countries who have early adopted smart contracts.
Our third finding is that even though contract management products are very attractive to technically savvy industries due to their unique features like decentralization, independency, and immutability, contract management software is very expensive to maintain as compared to already existing products in the market. In addition, when not fully tested, contract management software is exposed to technological risks.
Yes, that's very true, Mehak. We can observe this from the infamous Decentralized Autonomous Organization incident, where it took just 12 hours for the DAO to lose $60 million dollars as hackers were able to destroy the smart contract content.
So, to add on to our finding three, we came across some challenges of contract management. The first one being high cost and risk. Even though artificial intelligence and blockchain technology are increasing the efficiency in providing information to all the functional departments at right time, they expose the company for technological risk and it is very difficult to contain the damage with in-house resources. The second being lack of historical data for analyzation. Currently, less number of users are using the contract lifecycle management product, and their depth in experience is also very limited, and brief historical data is available for accurate prediction about the contract defaults. Third, inadequate legal stand across the countries. Smart contracts are not yet widely adopted and they are not legally approved yet in many companies. It may not be used as evidence to file a case against the defaulter. And moreover, every business contract is unique and there's separation of concerns. If every functional department in the organization knows the contract terms and conditions, then the company may lose its competitive advantage in the market. Transparency in information sharing may help to reduce the cost and increase the company's revenue in short term, but in long term, it may expose the company to greater risks. So, what lies ahead of us is the future of the contract management, that is, artificial intelligence and machine learning, automation, smart contracts, agile contract management, and the changes in the current compliance that has been going on.
We chose contract management as our ERP systems course project because contracts are an essential component of doing business. As a key document of both supply chain management and risk management, it is immensely valuable to ensure they are properly stored and seamlessly integrated with ERP systems. We recognize that establishing a steady supply chain is critical to successful procurement and sales endeavors, and as business processes and management systems continue to advance, the lack of integration has become a major constraint of legacy systems. We have presented to you 3 insightful findings in regard to contract management. First, the best contract management software depends on the size of an organization and an organization's current systems. Second, implementation of smart contracts is growing rapidly across industries. And finally, contract management software is risky. With these takeaways, we conclude our presentation and thank you for listening.